Six Nations squad for the Italians, folks. The initial squad is out, which is both very exciting because that means the Six Nations is around the corner. And also pretty scary how fast time is passing us by. Sitting here on the 12th of Jan, and the Six Nations is not that far away, man. 6th of Feb. That's just around the corner. International rugby is going to be back. It's kind of a, December, January, no internationals. It's a weird feeling, but we're almost at the end of that. It's crazy how fast the time has gone. We are going to go through the Italian squad, some of the ins and outs of the squad, the fixtures list, and as always, you guys can let us know your thoughts on how the Italians may go. I should say, if you want any rugby gear, check out Level Rugby down in the description. They've got all kinds of gear. And with the Six Nations on the horizon, I wouldn't be surprised to see them put on some deals. But yeah, for the Italian squad, it's young. My first impression is young, which continues the trend from last year. And bolstered by the return of a few big-name players, but also maybe handicapped a little bit by the fact that a couple of their real key players are unavailable for this one. But anyway, the squad itself, props, is 8 of them. CECCARELLI, who's a consistent one from last year and one of the veterans at this point, is there alongside FERRARI, FISCHETTI. NOCERA is one of the uncapped guys, one of the Zebre guys who makes his way into the 23. RICCIONI makes his return, having been injured for what seemed like ages, makes his Italian return. Been playing some good rugby for Saracens, so very excited to see him back. RIZZOLI is another one of the uncapped guys, again from Zebre, and then SPAGNOLO, another uncapped guy, so 3 uncapped props, and then the return of Federico ZANI, who we haven't seen play for Italy for at least 2 or 3 years now. So yeah, it's a bit of a mixture. Young, like I mentioned, some of these new guys, Spagnolo, who I don't really know anything about, 21 years old. Rizzoli's only 20. So, yeah, NOCERA, 23. In terms of propping stocks, really young. Some of the main guys are even, youngish for props. Like FERRARI's only 28, which, he's still got years to go before. Maybe he's just coming into his peak kind of at that age. And then RICCIONI at 25. Yeah, like I said, very exciting. The Italians certainly missed him, but I guess it was a good chance for them to build some depth. Neymar is the one guy who's kind of conspicuous in his absence. I have a feeling maybe that was to do with that incident at Benetton with Traore, but I'm not sure. That's just going by what I've kind of seen speculated about in the media. So off the field stuff, potentially. If it's not, please do let me know. I'm, as I said, just purely speculating. Hooker, BIGI, MANFREDI, and NICOTERA are the 3 guys. Obviously, the main guy, Luca, is also very notable in his absence, but he is injured, so that's why he's not there. I'm not sure what's happening with Hami Fiver these days. I know he left to go to Worcester, and then Worcester went bankrupt, so he's out of a job, and I don't think he's been picked up by anyone. So what's going on with Hami Fiver at the moment, I'm not sure. I don't think he was with the Italian squad at the end of last year either. So yeah, kind of fallen off. But I mean, in BIGI, you got a veteran. NICOTERA stepped up really well last year alongside Lucchese, and then MANFREDI is your uncapped guy again from Zebre. So that's your front rowers. The second row is pretty consistent. Cannone, Fusa, RUZZA, and ZAMBONIN. Zambonin's only got 2 caps, but he's a big unit of a guy, 2+ meters, 22 years old. And then Niccolo Cannone was having a great period. Him and his brother in the loose, for the Italians towards the end of last year, Autumn Nations, I thought were doing really well. And then RUZZA, if you guys have followed this channel for any length of time, probably one of my favorite Italian players, just because he's a real skills lock/loose forward. So yeah, pleased to see him there. David CC is another one who's injured, so unavailable. Otherwise, I think they had pretty much all their locks kind of ready to go. Back row, as I already mentioned, Lorenzo Cannone. Only a few caps to his name. Only 21 years old, but looked the business when he played those 3 games at the end of last year. Lamaro is still captain, and with 21 caps, he's kind of, one of the more capped guys in this Italian squad, which is, as I mentioned, pretty youthful. Negri is there. Pettinelli is there. Jake Polledri, he's back. Thank goodness for that. That guy, was it a knee? He has spent an unbelievable amount of time out injured. I hope to goodness he's fit and he's, not got like David Pocock problems with his knees. But, like, genuinely, that guy, when the Italians were playing really rubbish a few years ago, always looked very good. So I'm so excited to see his return to Test rugby. I hope he's as good as he was, or even if he's 3/4 as good, he'll still be pretty bloody good. So Jake Pelledri is back, and then Zuliani is there as well. So yeah, again, pretty youthful. Zuliani and Lorenzo Canone, these guys are only 21 years old, man. The captain is only 24. I'm not sure what's happening with Bramstein at the moment, and then Giamarioli also seemingly absent. I know he's playing his rugby in France now, so I'm not sure if it's just down the pecking order. No mention of either of those guys being injured, but yeah, that is the forward pack for the Italians, and I think that's a good mix, man. There's a few veterans in there, and yeah, there's a few other guys who are really just coming onto the scene, some kind of exciting youth. Oh, I should have also mentioned Halafihi is another one who is unfortunately unavailable due to injury. Into the backs, 3 scrum halves in Fusco Garbisi, that's Alessandro Garbisi, and then Stephen Varney. And when you look at that, again, you're thinking young. Fusco's 23, Garbisi's 20, and Varney's 21. Like crazy. Varney's already got 15 caps at 21 years old. Yeah, these guys are only getting better. And I think Varney really stepped up to the plate with the retirement of Brayley. Yeah, I think Varney has been looking pretty good. His relationship continues to build with Paolo Garbisi, but he is also absent, unfortunately. He is injured. Likewise is Leonardo Marin, so it's basically probably going to fall on Tommaso Allen to run the show. He is still there as your kind of leading guy at 10. Certainly, I think he's the most capped guy in the squad with 66. There's virtually nobody with 50 caps in this Italian squad apart from Tommaso Allen. So, yeah, a lot of pressure is going to be on that guy. And then Giacomo Dare is the other guy who's going to be potentially candidate at 10. In the absence of Paolo Garbisi, he's only had 1 cap, I think, against Portugal earlier in the year. And there is also an Italian A squad, which is going to play a Romania A squad. And Dare is also in that squad as well. So he should get a crack to run the Italian A side at 10 before he steps in for Italy. But I would imagine if he's available, Tommaso Allen probably starts all 5 games. Midfielders, Brix, Lukin, Menoncello, and Morisi. I am wondering, where's Marco Zanon? I'm not sure what the deal is. I didn't see him mentioned on the injury list. He was on the bench for Benetton, I think, just this weekend gone. Unless I just missed something. But Marco Zanon, not in the 23. And he was one of their main guys last year. So I'm a little bit surprised. But Menoncello's another one of these exciting youngsters. Brix, I mean, Kieran Crowley just seems to love Brix. I didn't really rate Brix until last year. I think Brix looked pretty good. He's still not the fastest player in the world. It's not all about speed, though. But yeah, I thought Brix had a pretty good year last year. So that faith is maybe kind of paying off a bit. And then Morisi and Brix are both in their 30s. So the midfield is actually the oldest looking area. I mean, Lukin is even 27. So yeah, it's only Menoncello who's the kind of youngster in that bunch at 20. And then the outside backs, you can't help, even if you don't like the Italian rugby team, you look at these outside backs and you'd be pretty chuffed. You'd be pretty happy with it. But Pierre Bruno played really well for Italy last year. Ange Capuozzo, one breakout player of the year, phenomenal year, scored some great tries. And then Matteo Minozzi is back. Like, I'm almost excited. No, I'm not quite as excited about Minozzi's return as I am Pelledri. Like, I'm through the roof for Pelledri. I'm cautiously optimistic for Minozzi. Is he still going to be there? I mean, he's pretty much been overtaken by Capuozzo at this point, but we've seen what Minozzi can do. I feel like he's another guy who's kind of been in and out with injuries, But and then Padovani, the kind of veteran there as well. Pretty exciting back 3, right? Depending on how they play. Unfortunately, no Monty Ioane. He's just not available because he's with the Melbourne Rebels at the moment. So the seasons kind of clash. Right as the Six Nations is getting underway, Super Rugby is just behind it. So the Rebels, I guess, haven't released. Do they have to release him? Either way, he's listed as unavailable, which is really unfortunate because Monty Ioane is a real weapon, ball in hand. So, yeah, that's, like I said, pretty unfortunate. So, yeah, there's a few guys who are playing that Italian A squad. Dare, Zambonin, Minozzi, Bruno, all these guys are going to line up for the Italian A side before we get into the Six Nations proper. They start with France, at least at home, and potentially before France is able to get up any steam. So maybe that works to the Italians' advantage. Anybody playing France right now is probably going to have a tough time of it. So that's probably not the number one game they're targeting. But I seem to remember, France didn't concede many tries. I think were the Italians the only team to lead against the French last year in the Six Nations? Either way, who knows? Then they got England away, Ireland at home. I would assume the best odds on the Italians getting a win is probably going to be in these last two games, especially the Wales game at home, but we'll have to see how Wales are going. There's a plane flying over my house. With Gatland being, reappointed to the Wales top job, and then away in Scotland at Murrayfield. Murrayfield's a tough place to get a win, but there's not really any easy games, is there, in this Italian list for the Six Nations? But anyway, that's the squad. You guys do let us know your thoughts. Let us know your thoughts, especially on some of these newcomers, the 3 new props, the new hooker, who I'm kind of not all that familiar with. How are you excited? How excited are you to see the return of likes of a Matteo Minozzi, like a Jake Pelledri? How do you think they're going to go without the guiding hand of Paolo Garbisi at 10? But yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts, and yes, I'll talk to you guys again soon. Together.